Maru is still the leading TVTer, right? So you're studying a lot from him. Oliveira might have been able to craft something unique to face him, as he actually has already discussed some of the ways that he practiced and studied against Cyril. Perhaps he can do the same thing versus Maru and cause an upset. In the top left, as we get into game number 1 on Oceanborn, he is Weibo Gaming's Oliveira.
And his opponent down here in the bottom right in the blue from Korea, he is Maru.
Representing Vitality, an awesome pickup leading into the EWC. Picked up the entire onside gang, actually. Maru, obviously, that standout player. Oh, we got a big map to start with, Tasteless. Oceanborn is also the most typical map. Now, we're in a mirror matchup, so we're not talking about a lot of caveats as far as whose race gets to play what, right? But you do, tend to see some different styles on these big maps, maybe more abuse of some air, for instance, and some other ones. This is actually so cookie cutter that it's probably actually a nice point to leap off from for both of them. Kind of get into their groove and actually do a typical TVT, because that's currently what they're doing, and being quite safe about it, too. Both of them going for SCV scouts.
Yeah, this is a map where there's a lot of different ways you can play. It's generic, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So with different play styles, and by the way, both these players have a really big range of play. I would say Maru might have the widest range of play in Terran versus Terran. We've had seasons at GSL or even esport years in StarCraft II where he has mostly rushed and made for some of the shortest games ever, and then he's been inventive, not just in TVT, but in other Terran matchups where he'll have that kind of exhaust play where he never fully engages the other player. He'll drain the map and usually fight over the last resource base here. So in this game, I think it's not clear how exactly they're going to approach it. We might get a little taste of how they're viewing the matchup right now and maybe what's the optimal way to play against each other. But for the builds, it's pretty basic. Just both sides fast expanding. We've got one player teching into a few more Reapers. Oliveira a little bit more focused on development. His factory already about to finish, whereas Maru's has just started.
Yeah, the factory timing is really the important thing here. Both of them went for a 1-Rax expand. That was very safe because they added an SEV scout. If you are proxy 2-Rax with this opener and you don't scout it, you're in a heck of a lot of trouble. And that could come out in one of these games, absolutely, by both players, just to make each other honest, right? But not this game. So the SEV scout kind of just revealed everything's okay for the beginning. But then what is that post plan? And the factory coming out faster for Oliveira gives him a little bit of that mobility, kind of like a better unit in general. But this fast third CC from Maru is very interesting. A little bit of a tussle right here, but overall, the context of this game, unimportant. Maru, not getting a lot of gas in the early game, is going into extreme greed. Oliveira not going to know about this unless he harasses or scans. Terrans don't like scanning, so he's got to get something over there and understand the pace of this game.
Now, I'm just going to throw this out here. It might not happen, but this is already starting to size up to be a game that could have been one from Katowice, where Oliveira won. We're going to have Maru going for econ play, right? Like you were saying, Zombie Grub, going for a third command center. So he's being greedy. This does open up an opportunity for Oliveira to try to attack in with drops. We'll see if that's actually going to be the case. He doesn't have to. He could play more conservatively, but that is a reality that could happen here in the next couple of minutes.
He definitely has a drop already. I don't think he added a Cyclone. He went right into a tank, if I saw correctly. That is correct. So a little Hellion just to kind of help out and get a little bit of scouting. But then really it's that next factory unit. So the Cyclone is the ultimate safety move. It's also more of a harasser, kind of an all-utility type of unit, where that tank, if you use it as a, offensive, you really have to be dedicated to it, right? Because it's an anchor, it has to siege. So he actually goes tank first, then into Cyclone, which is quite interesting. Picks up the drop, going into Ravens. Both of them probably going to grab that interference matrix. The first drop is on the way, and this is probably not going to do a whole lot of damage. We have some Hellions from Maru that can take care of this, but it will get a scout, and at least that will give Oliveira the knowledge of what he has to do. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be kind of bummed to see the third CC already finished, because how exactly does he punish that?
Yeah, he comes in here now. There's enough Hellions he's going to have to pick up immediately. Now, without any Marines or auto turrets thrown down on the ground, there's no way to punish that medevac. So there's going to be this looming threat that's not like a huge threat, but you can't really leave your base either, so you don't really get much map control. He's going to be staying out there for the time being, trying to look for openings, and if Maru does move out, he'll hit him.
There's a second starport on the way. Oliveira has chosen how he is going to deal with his 3CC. If he tried to play a normal game out and go for his own third CC like he had plans to, or perhaps in the beginning of the game and was willing to shift gears, he does have that fourth gas, so this might have been his plan all along. It's kind of shocking to see it on the huge map. Which might have been the trick, but it is going to work against this 3CC. I think this is actually a great chance for Oliveira. Maru has not seen it. It's not as obvious as it is on Site Delta, and Oliveira, this is his time right now before Maru benefits from the third CC. He's got to get in there, delay it, deny it, and possibly push into Maru's natural.
Okay, we've got a push coming in here right now. It's going to be that Oliveira aggression coming in and hitting the third base, and there's no tanks, at least in range, to defend this right now. For Maru, he doesn't even have his sieged up. He's going to be trying to fire down on the command center. It's in the red. It's burning. Being repaired. It'll barely be saved. But punting the command center away. Oliveira now taking his own third base. I got to say, history seems to be repeating itself, Zombie Grub.
This is a really nice strategic decision right now. Maru is going to be in a lot of trouble. He does not actually have any forward position, Now he's in his own choke, while Oliveira continues to rally forth freely. There's nothing that Oliveira has to worry about back at home.
Yeah, the command center is going to be chased back even further. It looks like he's going to land it up here. He needs to repair that and start cranking out SCVs. A scan comes down, and Oliveira is going to inch forward. Now, this could backfire. That being said, it seems like mid-game aggression has served Oliveira very well. If he can crack this position open, this game will probably end. Is he going to go for it? Let's see.
Got to be very careful.
Liberator.
Yeah, that is a powerful position. There's only so many spaces for the army to retreat to. Oliveira taking maximum gains to on the position. SCVs are getting pulled tasteless.
He pulls them and he throws down some auto turrets here. It looks like Maru might be feeding into this. The command centers, it's still just barely going to be broken here. And it looks like Oliveira's going to be able to stay around. The push is still here. The SCVs come out. Now, that being said, Maru, 28 SCVs to 53 SCVs. So not only did Maru not quite break the contain, but he has lost a considerable amount of workers. This is where Oliveira is on 3 bases. You can see it right here, SCVs being transferred. Effectively, Maru is behind in every metric.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way you got to put it, guys. Oliveira with the successful contain, saw the third CC, knew that he already had, even an extra tank kind of with that early one. And the second starport was just a really nice addition to what was probably already going to be some nice aggression, but then it just confirms that it's going to be so difficult to break out. Those extra few units really do matter there. And he gets all this damage done while having a third CC building on location back at home. And the only thing that would have been a deficit would have been his marine upgrades, but not for very long. And I certainly believe he's gotten enough damage to make up for it.
Maru's going to inch out here, and I think Oliveira's been smart to just inch back. He doesn't really need to fight this anymore. Okay, now this is such a pro move when he just bails. I think Maru might be able to come in here with the Marines. He's basically leapfrogging backwards with the tanks. And I think Maru has actually maybe made another mistake in trying to come in here, but he's going to go for it. I guess he has to be decisive right now.
Yeah.
He does wipe these tanks out, so there's a small counter push that can come in here. I do like the idea of what Oliveira was trying to do, which was basically to run away and maintain his lead. It looks like Maru will scoop up a little bit of not an advantage, but at least he's catching up, so to speak.
He wants to chase everything down so that maybe Oliveira makes the mistake by rallying, right? So if he had busted through that kind of tank unsiege backwards, if he had actually busted through that third tank wasn't sieged, Oliveira had made a huge mistake rallying, but that's not what happened, right? So it was more of a scuffle, it was more of a wash, and so Maru doesn't get that momentum he was looking for, that one slice of time to which he can chase out on the map, kill reinforcements, and potentially get into his own good position on the third. He wanted to, it didn't work, and he still just remains behind by 15 workers. He does have those faster upgrades, but like I said, I feel like the damage was done to make up for that. We'll pay very close attention to the timings of those upgrades. One going to be complete for both players, both of them on the track for the armory. Probably not going to be the difference that Maru was hoping for.
Okay, the tanks are going to be sieging up here. They will be able to hit this command center that's actually under construction, a stim and a dive in, but there are some tanks here from Oliveira to make him think twice about stepping into that no man's land. fact, some of these tanks kind of fishing out the Marines. Yeah, this is kind of a funny moment. You could technically consider this a denial on a 4th base.
Yeah.
The command center was never floated to the 4th base, but I guess that was kind of a cavalier place to put it, right?
It was.
Where the tanks would have pushed. So that's a pretty big win from Maru. Again, he's still behind. He's down by about 7 SCVs. But, I mean, Maru kind of powering his way through a disadvantageous position.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And, you know, we know how Maru can make comebacks happen in TVT, Tasteless. This is actually where he starts to as well. So he did manage to cut into the army a little bit. Oliveira didn't retreat entirely and then wasn't in position to defend that 4th. And that itself already is a huge bridge to coming back in this game, making the 4th command centers a similar time, 2-2 a similar time, and their army compositions obviously going to be similar as well. This is where Maru makes comebacks happen. 3 bases, I'm being able to pump out my units. I'm gonna add Vikings rather than Medivacs because I know I'm a little behind and I need to prepare for that eventual stomp with Viking Liberator air superiority. I need to prepare for that. So that's what he's focusing some of his limited resources on, and this is what he does best, making the comeback happen. Triple Medivacs coming on out. That's going to give some nice harassment. Tanks should be at home defending something exactly like this.
Now he's got sensor towers in the top center, to see this. And it looks like Maru's just going to fly right on through. Does not care if he's spotted. He's actually scanning and seeing if is there anything over here. Going to wipe out that sensor tower. Kind of tighten up the perimeter there for Oliveira. Oliveira, by the way, is close to maxing out. When we see that max out, he's going to start to really amp up the number of bases he's got. We'll probably see him start to try to push out. But Maru's not too far behind either.
No, so Maru is doing something again that I really feel like this is what he pushed back when everyone was like, how does he keep doing this? He's able to defend with a limited number of supply because he invests in the starport play. The real killer move in TVT is air superiority, so you got to keep that in mind when you're trying to make the comeback happen. That's what Maru's doing. But Oliveira, he is maxed out. He absolutely has a time to break Maru right here, right now.
Looks like Maru's going to be chased back here. There's a lot of tanks up in the front. It's not clear who has more Vikings. Actually, yeah, it's going to be Maru. It looks like he drives him back just slightly. And I don't know if he can get much further in here. So right now, Oliveira setting up shop in the middle of the map, but he's pretty far out of reach from anything that's important. There's a line of tanks down here from Maru. And Oliveira, trying to be pretty fluid in his position, just abandons this. I think it's a smart move. I think a weaker player would have tried to force this or just kind of stagnate in the middle of the map. So he's going to relocate. I don't think there's another spot on the map he can really attack into, but the further along the game goes, the more bases Maru will have. And for now, center of the map control is going to stick with Oliveira.
Yeah, he will have map control for a while, but when Maru pushes with a superior army as he gets to Ravens much faster, it will be a very scary push. I gotta shout out these missile turrets, by the way, Tasteless. They are in prime position. Maru is reading the Liberator harassment like a book, because that was, you know, okay, maybe that's a turret ring. He had one exactly. Wonderfully positioned for the first Liberator that tried to harass. He really knows how Oliveira plays.
Oliveira trying to shark around the map a little bit more. We've got a small counterattack here with Marines. There's a tank to intercept this. How much damage is this really going to get done? You know, it's funny. A small number of Marines actually does quite a bit. It looks like he's barely going to be held off, but that was some real value. In fact, oh my God, he killed that last Viking. Okay, so that was pretty good. You know, Marines are obviously extremely expendable, but hold up, a big counterattack comes in here from Oliveira, realizing there might be an imbalance over here on the other side of the map.
Oh my God, he's actually just stimming in. He sees the opportunity. The Marine concave might be good enough. The tank depth might have been a little bit of a problem as far as defending that planetary. It will, of course, defend the 3rd CC. We got ourselves a little bit of an SCV trade going on here. Not a good time to be a worker in this game. 3rd CC from Oliveira looks like it barely will survive. Things have gotten a little more chaotic. Both of them starting to miss macro a tiny bit as well, but it's really a very close game still. A bit of a wash there. Command center got destroyed for Maru. Oliveira kept all of his alive, but they had already started to add on more command centers, so it could be a temporary loss. Oh my God, he's continuing. Maru seeing an opportunity, or at least thinking that he was, but that was maybe not it as much as he was hoping for. It's, again, that was a little bit favored to Oliveira, actually. That was that was hard to track. I can't believe both of them took so many fights in that area.
Yeah, it's funny. It was a very slow positional game for a few minutes, and then it was just them pounding each other.
Yeah.
We saw both supplies drop to 120. They're now slowly going back up into about 145, 150 here. Tanks were traded on both sides, and so I think it's going to be a little bit more of an open game as far as where you can go positionally. Oliveira still trying to set up, you know, for counterattacks, still checking for bases. It does seem like Oliveira is maybe just like maybe 5% ahead overall, but it could go either way. Again, let's not forget that Oliveira actually has had a pretty good lead for most of this. We've really seen Maru kind of power back. It's almost like, you know, watching two guys arm wrestling, and one is slowly pushing the other one back. Yeah. His arm to the other side of the table. It's been impressive to see Maru kind of fight back and push through this. He's not out of it yet. He's not even really evened it out quite yet, but he's almost there.
Yeah, I think your assessment's kind of spot on, like maybe 5% lead for Oliveira, but even that I'm not even sure of, you know, because the economy has actually been a little in favor of Maru. We've been watching that arrow point down to Maru a little bit more. I think the SEV transfers hadn't happened for Oliveira for a little while because he had more workers. He still does. But I think what Oliveira was at least able to do was able to equalize the late game composition, right? I was saying Maru was getting faster to those Ravens. His push was going to be scary. All that chaos just kind of balanced it out.
He's going to try to push through here. This doesn't look like a good angle here for Oliveira. It's going to backfire. Well, it's such a narrow area. It looks like the tanks are going to get shaved off. The rest of the tanks behind the seaweed are kind of stuck back there. And that might have been an overstep. There's no Marines here to cover this either. Right now, Maru using the Vikings to basically spot for the tanks. Oliveira going to try to rotate up here again. You got to be careful here. Sometimes aggression like this really can be a double-edged sword where you think you can get in there and do some damage, and instead you're just shaving off your own army over and over again. Yeah,
I think it's easy to take miscalculated fights. You know, there's so many tanks that the depth can't even necessarily be scanned. You know, you scan, you say six tanks, there's actually 10 because there's so many more behind that, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy how balanced this game ended up being after that opening. The observer showing us the resources lost are crazy even, despite what is a lot of chaos now after the minute 15, I want to say. Now it's just like go, go, go. Oliveira wanted to be on the push, ended up actually taking an okay fight, but it's now just more and more into almost a mech game, man. It is going to be starports and tanks, a Banshee coming out. I wonder if that was on purpose, maybe just a little scout, little harasser. You know, you don't build missile turrets like that. Anti-Banshee missile turrets 17, 18 minutes into a TVT. That's kind of cute, but it is a lot about the Raven usage now. Who has the better Raven usage? Historically, Maru. Maru's supposed to be the best in this game, in this type of game, but that didn't necessarily happen at Katowice.
Yeah, Maru finally out on the middle of the map roaming here. He's been really patient. We're at about 18 minutes and 30 seconds. And, you know, we're getting to the point in time where there's not that many more bases left. There's also no shared expansion on this map to fight over. And so it's going to be about these two bases in the top right and the two bases in the bottom left. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, we got a stim in here. Oliveira going to lash out, but it looks like Maru narrowly escapes, not really suffering any losses.
Yeah, both of them so well matched on the upgrades, too. You can see that Maru is going to go ahead and grab +3 tank attack, which, you know, it affects the AoE as well. So it's a good upgrade, but they already have +2, which is the kill shot for the Marines when they stim. So Oliveira's like, I don't need to upgrade my tanks anymore. Let's really focus on the air upgrades. So he's grabbing ship weapons. Is that better? Hard to say, because if it was better, you think Maru would do it. So, you know, I'm going to trust that they're both just kind of playing a little bit differently. Eventually, we'll see more ship weapon upgrades, I suppose, for the Maru as well. We did have extra barracks added on. You know, if you do have a clash of these armies and all those tech units go down, it might be up to who has the mineral bank to spam Marines more to get that momentum.
Tanks are going to siege up over here. Another scan comes down. It's been this plateau over and over. They're going up and down this, but now Maru's going to try to dive in. Oh my God, beautiful disable on literally every tank on that side of the map. Unbelievable. Maru going to try to come in a little bit further. He's going to take out every single tank. This could turn the game completely upside down.
It absolutely could. It actually ends up being a little closer than Maru maybe was hoping for, but it absolutely was a win for him. Oliveira caught in an awkward position, couldn't get his own interference matrix, couldn't buy enough time for his tanks to get unlocked.
I cannot believe how perfect that execution was. It was even up to that point, and suddenly I think we may see Oliveira tap out here because he's lost all of his tanks. Maru is able to now tear through the map and wipe out these expansions, basically knock out the north position, which will also take out the position in the north east here.
It was such a good fight that I actually thought it would just be GG. You know,
Yeah.
Oliveira looked like he was going to die. He ended up like buying a little bit of time for himself, and then he's going to sacrifice bases to buy further time. But yeah, that was a potentially game-winning move. Oliveira certainly on the ropes, down 50 supply, tank count in the dumpster, Raven count as well. He does not have the tools, and he will tap out. Maru proving to be better in that supreme late-game TVT. That is what he is known for. That certainly goes to a little bit of time for himself, and then he's going to sacrifice bases to buy further time. But yeah, that was a potentially game-winning move. Oliveira certainly on the ropes, down 50 supply, tank count in the dumpster, Raven count as well. He does not have the tools. Whenever we talk about Maru's playstyle, best in that late game. And I think Oliveira would have been kind of preferring to have won that game when he had that 40 supply. After the chaos of the early game, he was in a good position, but the problem of any Terran versus Maru is letting him get to 3, 4, 5 bases and getting to that late game.
You know, it's funny, ZG, the game did start out like the previous games historically have, where Oliveira is the one to take the initiative. He tries to take a fight on the map. As Maru's taking his third base, he drove that back. But the longer the game goes on, Maru kind of wills his way through it. He basically played from behind for, you know, maybe 75% of that game. But when he started to take the fights, and especially that final fight, the execution is so perfect. I mean, that's like probably, what, 20 very specific actions that you have to have done perfectly. And if you make 1 or 2 mistakes in that, you will lose. You do have that attacker's disadvantage, but he was actually able to split that position wide open. And I gotta say, just a real masterclass in TVT.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when you get behind in an RTS, there can be that kind of compulsion to do something dramatic. And sometimes that's the right move, right? To do some kind of all-in to try to completely turn the game upside down. But not in that game. Instead, he just sort of stayed low, took his beatings, took his lumps, and when he was in the position to finally, in one moment, unlock the victory, he did it.
Yeah, yeah. There's actually so many moments that could have really swayed the game a different direction all the way from minute 5, honestly. But it was a matter of fact that that last fight was more likely to go Maru's way, and the positioning was a big reason as to why. We'll get into that a little bit after we introduce the players here. Coming into the second map in the bottom right, down a game, he is Oliveira.
And his opponent here in the blue in the top left from Korea, he is Maru.
Yeah, big thing about that last fight before we get too deep into game number 2, Oliveira was on the low ground. That's actually a huge problem because he could not repel the Ravens from his tanks in the same way that Maru was able to repel them, well, actually slaughter them, because Oliveira had to dive. He knew that he had to basically get his opponent's tanks out of the equation or he was dead. But then he sacrificed his Ravens, his tanks were dead anyway, and he just knows that he had a bad start to that battle. Should not have been in that position, but it's so difficult when the game gets that fast. It was after all that chaos as well. You're just going to see some of those positional mistakes, very understandable. But let's focus in on map number 2. It is Site Delta. Now, this is actually the map where we do see a lot of 2 starport-based attacks, something that Oliveira did include last game, but not in the same kind of fashion as it happens on Site Delta. It did still result in a pull in the natural and the chokehold, right, that Maru had to decide to break out of. But since that already happened on Oceanborn, does this 2 starport play happen on Site Delta as well? It's possible, Tasteless, because Byun did it yesterday, even though it was scanned, or no, Oliveira did it yesterday, sorry. Oliveira did it yesterday, even though it was scanned, and Byun still failed on the execution, basically. That can still happen, but are you going to guess that Maru will fail on the execution defending against that build? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It did seem like in the last game, Oliveira was maybe trying to force something that couldn't happen.
Maybe.
It does seem as though when these two guys get together, Oliveira, if he can get in there and find that weak spot, find that Achilles heel, find that solar plexus on Maru, he'll hit it until Maru's dead. But Maru, even when he takes a beating there, is pretty good at staying back and can kind of play a quiet game, play a dull game. And then you have the situation where Oliveira's trying to post getting his damage in and trying to then find that killing blow. Can't quite find it. I don't know if we're going to see a better late game positional execute than the one we saw from Maru. I mean, what was that, 7 or 8 tanks? All disabled.
Probably,
the stim, the fanning or the arcing of the Marines down there, laying the auto turrets as well, just so that they would soak the damage.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about within the course of about 2 to 3 seconds having literally the perfect input. And then going, which is, and I mean, I think TVT really is kind of a fascinating matchup because it's a glass cannon matchup in that everything is fragile and everything does a lot of damage. So, having precise attacks like that is really incredible. But yeah, I don't know if we can top that here. I do still think that Oliveira's early game is maybe a little bit more interesting. And the truth is, his early game did kind of work for him in that last game. I mean, he did punish the 3rd command center. Yeah,
but then, again, like hindsight, I think you really go into it seeing how it unfolded. Hindsight might have said that he should have retreated a little bit sooner, even though he kind of made it an even fight. Maru did still grab some of his units, and then that kind of let him feel comfortable going to that 3rd, which found the 4th, so on and so forth. The map is so different now, though. Site Delta is very skinny. It's shorter as well. Maru's not going to go for the 3rd CC. That makes sense. He does open in a similar way as far as the factory units, though. Number of Hellions, actually, which if Oliveira were to only get that scout, might misread it, but shouldn't just depend on the Hellions to be like, oh, that's a 3rd CC. No, that wouldn't really be the case. Oliveira this time around getting that faster 3rd CC. Maru just a little bit behind, grabbing those 2 Cyclones again. Oliveira did grab his own Cyclone, but no medevac drops, which really have been so popular in other Korean TVTs.
That's right, and in this game it is Oliveira showing that he's also got a pretty big range of play, right? He's not going to do the same kind of aggressive stuff. He can try to be more in your face after getting his 3rd base up and running, after playing, a little bit more of a econ game here. We've got interference matrix, finishing up here for Oliveira. I don't think we're going to have much happen here in the next minute or two. We're just seeing infrastructure get placed down. Well, I say that, but now we've got Maru moving out on the map. This is kind of a funny comp. It's just Hellions, 2 Cyclones, and some Ravens. It's a very turtled position here for Oliveira. He's got a tank at his natural, but it's like in the worker line. It's not out at the ramp, so there's nothing hanging out that you can try to snipe at.
No.
A tank on the high ground and Ravens patrolling, so we're actually seeing Maru now pull back. It looks like he might have been looking to see if he could catch anything in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. Yeah, they're both just focused on development. We can basically watch the unit, the production tab, at the top left here. We've got eBays on both eBays, finishing here for Maru. Maru comes out now, looking around. On the surface, if you're not scanning, this could look like it might be a little mechish, right? With the Hellions and the Cyclones.
Right.
I say that, but he scans now. He's going to see that it's, in fact, Barracks play.
Yeah, that's a good scan, too. You want to see if it's Barracks play, yes, but you also want to see that 3rd CC timing. If there wasn't that, and then the panic sets in, you're like, oh, no, we got 2 starports. But no, it's not that. So unfortunately for Maru, while that army supply did have like a moment where you're like, oh, okay, maybe he can actually contain, 6 Hellions isn't really that helpful. It really is about these Ravens more so, which are going to come in, exactly, and take out the tank. At least try. Yeah, it was a goner. And unfortunately, that is a big loss in the early game TVT. Oliveira going to go for some of his own harassing Ravens. Let's see how many SCVs that get. But Maru's continuing to rally 4th, and the army is getting better. He's rallying tanks 4th, and he wants to maybe catch Oliveira kind of too turtled, but he's actually going to pull back. Doesn't think that there's a chance to do anything more. And, well, unfortunately, it's an awkward timing, right? Because his army's not here to help out against the auto turrets, which have killed 9, 10, perhaps 11 SCVs before everything is said and done. If he focused, it would have happened. Unfortunately, didn't get the chance. These Ravens do want to live. The Cyclones a little bit later to the party. Might be too late to get the kill. Yes, indeed they are. Nice little drive-by by Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean, great play. Getting a lot of those SCVs killed off here. We've kind of had a couple players take swipes at each other. I'd say nothing too dramatic. You know, if the game goes on long enough, you do want to use something on that Raven energy. You know, spend it on some kind of damage. Try to get some kind of value. Obviously, you can't bank it up past when it's maxed out. So, for now, we have the army starting to gather in the middle of the map. We have Oliveira with a bit of a preemptive setup here so that he can't be pushed. And there's a drop that's going to be looping around this. So we have a skirmish that's going to happen out here. Maru going to try to drive this back, but I think the drop is going to be the more important part to look at. Keep in mind, a lot of these SCVs have been damaged already due to the auto turrets that were thrown down. And this push is going to come in here. The tanks are actually on the run, but the Stim Marines are going to be a little bit faster, and this is so bad. In fact, this is going to really fracture the position. Another tank is going to get disabled and get killed. There is a drop that's hitting the command center, but I'm a lot more worried for Oliveira because this army is going to push right into where all the SCVs and the barracks are.
That is terrible for Oliveira. He did not have the army to defend this push. He had given so many units up to go for the drop in the main base, which might not do equivalent damage. He is in the main, which is usually a great sign for TVT, but he's only Marines. Can he actually stay here and camp the production? Because he would need to. He is starting to massacre the SCVs, however. Maru did not send enough units back to deal with this. Finally sends enough. It is going to have to leave. But now at this position, Oliveira losing 30 SCVs, access to his natural, potentially his upgrades, and Maru just lost 21 SCVs. Not much else as far as his base structure.
Now this is scary because if you get on top of that infrastructure, it's going to be so punishing. I love the auto turret placed down here just to be a sponge for damage. Oliveira's going to try to drive down this ramp. It looks like he might barely do it. He's going to be able to kill that final tank. And I think, yeah, be able to wipe out this position, but there's a lot more reinforcements coming on the map. Look at this.
Maru's coming in for the kill. This might just be it. Oliveira going to try and have his hold, but while good interference matrix come down, I think the numbers might just be too great. Maru still with a about 10 army supply lead. Upgrades, unfortunately, were not going to complete for Oliveira, right? That +2 attack did not get completed. It didn't start. I think it might have got killed, actually. So just armor for him. That is a bummer. It's faster at the very least, giving him a moment of time.
I didn't realize this engineering bay is just back here quietly getting the armor upgrade. It's been ignored. This should be fatal. He's going to be able to take out the command center. The tank is actually covered by the barracks here. The SCVs are pulled. They're wiped out immediately. More Stim Marines are going to come in here as well, but it looks like there's just too much muscle in this fight. Maru should be closing this out with a 2-0 victory here.
It looks to be the case.
Hold on a second. I guess the game's going to go on. The issue is going to be there's only 6 SCVs. There's 38 here for Maru. This space has been ignored. By the way, you can just go behind the minerals with 1 or 2 Marines and kill off all these workers. So I guess he doesn't have vision of that. That's so funny. I was wondering why that was being ignored up here.
Oh, no, the timing! Jeez Louise. It's still bad because they're in the medevac. They have to unload. It looks like it will just be in time. Maru can't find the advantage there, but it's 40 SCVs to 19, despite having that cheeky planetary hidden, basically, and that's going to be hard to break with only Marines from Maru. I don't think it's going to bring Oliveira back into this game. Tank shot does help. He takes advantage, goes after a medevac. Marines forced to pick up. Another medevac boosted forward. That was a little odd. Now he sees the planetary.
Yeah, he inadvertently retreats into the hidden base here just north of this position. Kind of a funny moment in this game. Oliveira is going to try to have his own harass here and deal with this. This is actually a pretty well-placed Liberator. Kind of hard to handle. Oliveira is going to move out on the map, and I'll tell you what, he's catching some stray units here and there.
Yeah, some. Big problem now is that even if he did have an okay Marine fight, numbers-wise rather, the upgrades are done. Maru has +2 attack, and Oliveira does not. He's kind of lucky he got that +2 armor anyway. That was supposed to die in the natural. But it's still a big problem not to have that second upgrade. Oliveira is going to need his tanks to fire. He's going to need just more Marines. He ever takes a direct fight, and now he needs something back here to help defend against the cheeky Liberator. Very nice play here. don't have to dedicate much to this harassment. Oliveira close to Maru's base, going for the drop in the main, but no tanks are here.
Okay,
so can he contain?
This could flip the game upside down.
Oh, one. Okay. Yeah, it could.
He's on top of infrastructure. The drop over here might be the saving grace, but Maru's going to have to really put work in here. But we have a counterattack in the bottom right, and there is nothing here to protect this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Oliveira's going to have to worry about a straight-up losing last building situation. He's lifting, and he's going to tap out. Not finding enough of a comeback opportunity. Maru did not make any tremendous mistakes when it got a little scrappy, you know, letting an army just sit in the middle while he was distracted in the main or something like that. That's what would have had to have happened for Oliveira to come back in that game. And it was all a lot to do with the attack down the middle of the road. When Oliveira had 2 medevacs worth of units in the main and not enough protecting his tanks, Maru pounced on the opportunity, and it snowballed from there.
Kind of a cool game. Funny to see that he missed that base north of the natural expansion. Kind of retreating away from the fight, and then he goes, okay, it's over there. But also an interesting approach to the game in general, kind of going for the heart, going for the organs of the Terran, so to speak, instead of trying to deny your opponent and starve them out in bases. Instead, you go for that infrastructure kill play, which is, I think, more common in TVT really than any other matchup. At the end of the day, I think Oliveira had a great counterattack at the end, but the problem is he's working with less. So when he does the counterattack, Maru can basically take a beating and just go for his own kill there when he gets in there.
And it's very important that Maru did start to win when he did, because 4 CC from Oliveira would have been problematic if he hadn't kind of gone for the throat, especially if he had been, for instance, denied at the natural, so he doesn't even get into a lot of the SCVs or the upgrades, which it looked like +2 attack didn't actually even start because the game got so chaotic, but it would have died anyway. So this is where, the first fight outside the natural had already happened, put Oliveira in a terrible position, and it really was a bad game from there. Oliveira not quite getting the, I don't want to call them miracles, but the same type of momentum that he did versus Maru back at Katowice, and certainly he's not coming off that same momentum either. Fresh day, he did win yesterday, but not quite the same as winning back-to-back-to-back-to-back. So he's going to need to dig deep and then just kind of take Maru down on his momentum, reset the series at the very least.
Now, we got to point it out, Maru up 2-0. We're talking about the fact that Oliveira is maybe, the poison that, there is no antidote for Maru here, but not today. Maru is redeeming himself. He has reconfigured his play. Oliveira staying true to the way that he has played before, but right now unable to get any wins here in this best of 5 as we go into Game 3. And we're in that game right now. In the top right, in the red, he is Oliveira.
And in the top left of Ghost River, we do have Vitality's Maru.
So let's see if we got a game more in line with what Game 1 looked like, where maybe Oliveira tries to move out and do some drops and harass here. By the way, nobody's really cheesed at all. There's not been any crazy all-ins. It's been, I guess you'd say, proper TVT in that sense. Yeah,
just a 2 starport play, which is a little aggressive.
Never mind.
Speak of the devil, SCV, out on the map.
Yeah, we are going to have exactly that. So it's going to be Maru rushing this game. This is going to be something where Oliveira is going to have to be very much prepared. Oliveira could be in a position where he can handle this just fine.
Yeah, so he is scouting. This is very important because he actually is trying to 1-Rax expand on this pretty short map. He's not going to see the barracks. He just did, an over to the main base AI scout, right? So he is going to see that if he's let into the main base, he's going to see a lacking factory. So that's kind of the key thing here, is that he actually goes that deep and doesn't just go, oh, like 1-Rax expand, I guess that's fine. Oh, and that's what Maru is denying. So there could be a factory back there.
Gosh, yeah, it looks, he even scouts the gas due to the vision range of the SCV. So it is a real deceptive base setup. Yeah. Where you would think, okay,
nice.
On the way back, he spots it. Okay.
Nicely done.
You should have let that SCV in there. I'm kidding, of course. That is a joke.
Yeah, and he was already, concerned about any of those problems, right, early game. So he puts the command center on the high ground. That's kind of consolation prize here. Maru probably shouldn't get much more damage because of that. If you're defending 2 places with a limited number of units as a defender, you're just having such a harder problem. 1 base, much easier, especially where you know where the Reaper hop-up is. Pull the SCVs there. If they go this direction, they go this direction. You got to catch up to them, but they're supply depots, and then they go around. Yeah, you track them, right? And the SCVs do have to come along initially, but ideally, yeah, you don't lose any units here. Maru forced to escape. He also saved his Reapers, so good micro, of course, on his part. But he's not getting quite the momentum, quite the just like, 2 up, and then boom, 3rd game easy peasy.
Right. Factory's going to finish up here, and so is the command center for Oliveira. Maru starting his command center later. And this should be a game where we're going to see Oliveira try to concoct a plan to get control of his low ground. He's going to have to deal with these Reapers first. Maru's going to do a blind jump up here. There's nothing defending. It's kind of it almost doesn't make sense to attack in the same spot twice, but that's why it works. Is you're thinking, okay, that's illogical, so I'll go back and defend the other place you could come in. That's kind of the poker game of the Reaper rush, right?
Yeah.
So he called his bluff and did get in there and got a little bit of damage. This time around, it's going to be through the bottom, but there are Marines to deal with this.
Well, yeah, it will be enough. Yeah, Cyclones pops out especially, for sure. So, yeah, he got the 4 SCVs that I feel like he was kind of looking for, honestly. With his command center on location, because you do have the map control, you're going to take a little bit of a lead, I believe, especially when there's also still the threat of a Reaper backstab.
Right.
That Oliveira is going to have to consider. This is why Maru really doesn't want to just give away his Reapers in exchange for army, because they're so threatening on the map.
So this is the Maru move that I think changed TVT proxies a lot. I think he's really the guy that innovated this. But post-rush, he'll take the barracks. He doesn't send it back. He floats it in here and says, okay, what are you doing now? Because I'm going to try to counter it directly. And he even sends the Reapers around here as it comes in for a little bit of extra damage.
And it's going to be a threat every single time as well until those things die. Catches the SCV on the supply depot and is going to delay that as well. 3 more SCVs do go down. Maru extending his lead by, I guess, to like 1.5 SCVs as the command center finally floats over and lands for Oliveira. It is a 2-worker difference. Barracks is sacrificed, which really takes away any possibility that could have turned into like a 2-1-1 or something. Proxy single barracks usually doesn't anyway. And Maru, probably still going to go into bio, even though he's sacrificing a barracks, guys. But he did just get a really proper scout to know exactly what was going on. Medevac is on the way for, well, both players, but Maru's is much faster. He's really going to be in Oliveira's face for this entire game.
Okay, we've got a Medevac coming around the bottom over here. He's going to come in and try to intercept and save these Reapers. He does target the Cyclone, but good control by Oliveira. Could have gone either way. Both sides basically leaving with the important units intact, even if they are damaged.
Oh, Maru has a 4th gas before 3rd CC, actually. Oh, yeah, he's going to 2-starport. He's going to give Oliveira a taste of his own medicine, except he might actually win with this one, where Oliveira was really just shy. He certainly did a tremendous amount of damage, but up against 3 CC, that comeback potential is there. That was the first game. We could have the game kind of begin or end as it begun in a way. Maru is going to get scouted, though, something that he was not able to scout Oliveira's, 2-starport play and had trouble against it. Oh, no!
Oh, my God, that's so bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at that top part of the map, there's no way to unload. You got to get onto ground where the Marines could safely evacuate. And oh, my God, yeah, we just caught the tail end of it in that shot, but he's slumped in his chair. He's shaking his head. He's going, man, I'm in so much trouble. There's no real opportunities on the map right now. The infantry count's going to be way lower, and Maru could just clobber. Oh, that, okay, wow.
Okay, all right.
Whoa, he just taps out.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he also got the scout on this aggressive play that was about to hit him, and he just lost 8 Marines and a medevac. Any type of map control, any type of worry given to Maru to like stay back at home for an extended period of time, all out the window when that happened. So
yeah, he just concedes. Maru writing history here after Oliveira had one of the biggest upsets in the last several years of StarCraft II. We were saying maybe this is kind of the one that knows how to play against Maru, how to beat him. Well, not today. Oliveira is wiped out in a very, very decisive 3-0.
Yeah. Kind of felt like he lost energy across the series, right? Because first was the most promising, then he loses in a way that's, it's not atypical against Maru, but it's still discouraging because you had a lead, you had a chance. And the second game is still like it's even poorer, and the third game is just catastrophic.
Yeah, sometimes when you have two players where one, in fact, is better than the other, the more they play, the less close the games get.